The goal of this video guide is to give Ryu players consistent Oki options off of his most common knockdowns. Now for players new to the idea of Okizeme, I'll break it down real quick. For those who want to skip around, I've included chapters in the description for quick reference. Now for a good Oki setup, we want to achieve the following. We want to beat wake-up throws, beat wake-up mashing, beat wake-up jumps, beat wake-up drive impact, and we want it to work if they recover backwards or in place. Now, Oki setups are usually constructed out of two parts, the frame kill and the meaty. The frame kill is a move we do in order to adjust our timing in such a way that the next action automatically hits before the knocked out opponent can take an action like mashing or jumping. This is usually a dash, a drive rush, a whiffed button, or some other action that helps us reach this automatic timing. Meaty traditionally means that it hits on the first possible active frame. Now in some cases, these setups will hit on the first possible actionable frame, meaning that it hits on frame 3 before the opponent can take an action besides wake-up reversal. This is actually pretty good in Street Fighter 6 because it avoids being perfect parried on wake-up. And speaking of that, it's important to know that while good Oki allows you to keep up the pressure, Oki setups do lose to reversals and many will lose to wake-up parry if they hit meaty on frame 1. Now, as a final note, there are way more Oki options than the ones that I've listed here. This is meant to be a jumping off point covering what I think are some of the most consistent and useful options. For a more comprehensive list, please take a look at my Ryu notes linked in the description below. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get started. A new arrival to Ryu's Oki arsenal since the patch after Capcom Cup in 2024, this Oki truly is the star of the show. If you're close on block, you're +2 and can go for a strike throw mix. And on light Hasho counter hit, you can get a clean 2000 damage for 1 bar and a Denjin charge. Or you can cash out in the corner for very respectable damage. Now do note that mid-screen you will not always be in throw range depending on how far away you hit the light Tatsu, but it's always consistent in the corner. That being said, Ryu's other options from light Tatsu are part of what makes this so very threatening. Dash microwalk is a perfectly trainable form of Oki as the timing will be consistent so long as you hold forward after the dash. This ends up being very dangerous since players have to guess strike throw, and you can also jump over characters for DP baits or simply dash and microwalk backwards to create a space trap. Between these options and the light Hasho that is +2 on block, Ryu dashing after a Tatsu can be one of the scariest things in his arsenal. Drive rushing after a dash lets you auto-time a particularly meaty 2LK, letting you go into a very fast tick throw or combo block spring pressure afterwards with 2LK, 4 HP, light Hasho, or confirming the back heavy punch into a heavy donkey kick for extra damage and a Denjin charge. This one is a little gimmicky, but still cool to know that you can do this giant looking move and be +2 afterwards. It's especially good if the opponent is in burnout, or if you can put them into burnout with just 1 more bar. Now, know that because this move is very telegraphed, it is very susceptible to wake-up parry. And if your opponent knows how to deal with it, you will lose a bar after being punish countered and be very sad. Ryu has a wide array of meterless Oki choices, and the first is this unassuming dash 5 HP. This allows Ryu to meaty with 5 HP and cancel into a special of his choosing. Now if you think the opponent will block, you can do a heavy Hasho here for chip and continued pressure, throw a fireball to push them out of counterattack range, or simply walk backwards and crouch to be in good range for a whiff punish or anti-air if they jump after blocking it. This move, despite not being plus on block, is still incredibly flexible and a big part of how to keep up Ryu pressure at any point in the game. Now if you enjoy playing the zoning game with Ryu, this is the easy way to return to neutral at round start spacing. Light Hadoken will work on opponents who don't back roll, but it doesn't actually hit meaty if they do. Instead, it gives them space to jump out right into anti-air range of your heavy DP. There are quite a number of ways for Ryu to get into his meaty overhead setup with Drive Rush, but this is one of the most consistent and most usable from Heavy Dragon Punch. And it's important to keep in his arsenal as part of the way we encourage opponents to wake up and stand block, which makes crouching light kick or empty jump low setups that much more effective. Now, these are a little unusual, but these are your auto-timed meaties from Heavy Dragon Punch. 5 HP doesn't work here, but think about it the same way. The biggest difference is that they're not directly cancelable like 5 HP, so be ready for follow-ups accordingly. You're also not in throw range afterwards, so usually your best bet is to 2 MP for continued pressure, or combo if it lands. Now, it's worth noting here that with enough practice, the world is your oyster for Ryu's normals, so feel free to get wild and express yourself if you want to practice timing for other Oki options. Just know that these aren't auto-timed for you with frame kills, so you can whiff or be late if you're not on point. The meatiest of drive rushes is this drive rush 5 HP from medium Tatsu. It's going to feel like it won't connect, but don't worry, it will. If you're coming over from Ken, you should feel right at home with this one. Now, it's worth noting that the distance traveled between light and medium Tatsu is only about 5% of the screen, and that the damage difference is only about 100 or so. So really the choice you should be making between light and medium is what you want for Oki. Ryu always has the choice to dash and hit a button after all of his knockdowns, and 2MP after medium Tatsu makes this possible. You'll be spaced so far away you don't really have a lot of follow-up choices here with normals, but if your game plan is to make Ryu dashing after a knockdown scary, you can keep that strategy going with this Oki. In the corner, you get strike throw from a forward dash here as well, so it becomes even more flexible. One of Ryu's only drive impact setups is from medium Tatsu. Especially useful if you've just taken someone to, where you're close to the wall, and it's increasingly powerful if the opponent is in burnout and their only option is to wake up super. Now, this is drive impact, so your mileage may vary depending on your opponent, but it is incredibly useful and can clutch out some rounds. For fireballs, you want to be throwing light Hadoken again. If they tech in place, you're +3 on block, and if they back tech, it will stop all actions that aren't Kami's level 3. At tip range, the fireball doesn't reach quite in time to stop jumps, but you're still able to get a Shoryuken here with ease if that happens. In the corner, this becomes even stronger, and we'll revisit it when we get to the fireball Oki section. Sometimes you're going to need to sideswap as Ryu, and heavy Tatsu is the way to do this. If you want to keep the pressure going, this is one of the best ways to do it, especially if you've just used this to exit the corner. Fireball returns again as another great way to set up a Shoryuken if they decide to jump it. This one should be familiar to you by now, and here it is another great use case after a side swap. Off forward throw, just drive rush and hit your favorite button. You won't be close enough to tick throw afterwards, but you'll be in their face being Ryu. As a side note, don't dash. You'll be tempted to dash, especially if you like dash Oki, but from a forward throw, you're going to be negative right next to them if you dash. I guess you could use it as a bait, but speaking of baits from here, Drive Rush 5 LP also doesn't work to bait a reversal here. So if you forward throw, you either want to, calmly throw a fireball afterwards, or go ahead and Drive Rush. Speaking of fireball, this fireball setup of hits you if you press, I can anti-air you if you jump, returns. Alright, next up let's talk about sweep. It's important to note you have two different versions, regular hit and counter hit / punish counter. On counter hit, you get more knockdown frames, so it's important to distinguish what kind of sweep you landed during the hit before going into Oki afterwards. If you're not confident in confirming the punish counter, you can always just reset to neutral after a sweep. That being said, starting off with dash 5 HP should be very comfortable if you do land a regular hit. Additionally, from a regular hit sweep, you can also go straight into your overhead drive rush setup that we all know and love. From punish counter, things get a little bit more interesting. 6HK works simultaneously as a gap closer and a setup to put you in the perfect framing for strike throw mix with either medium punch or throw. It won't reach if you're at tip range, so you kind of have to be a little close, but does work in most instances, especially in the corner. Finally, the favorite setup that I've recently discovered is just using a jump after a punish counter sweep in order to do the frame kill. This is really cool because it puts you +2 right next to them. It lets you side swap in some instances if that's what you're looking for, and you can go into a low or strike throw mix from here. It's just incredibly good. very, very useful to know, especially in the corner. If you manage to land a punish counter sweep and you need it to get out, you can immediately go back into pressure, and it doesn't cost any resources. Incredibly good. Okay, so it's worth noting overall that anything Ryu gets mid-screen, he can also get in the corner. So, if you have a few favorites, you can continue to rely on them in the corner, unlike some other characters, looking at you, Kimberly, who have different frames in the corner. So, from Heavy Dragon Punch, the infamous Light Hasho Oki returns in the corner this time with a simple 5 LP frame kill. Please note that your timing here must be frame perfect, or the Light Hasho can be as low as -3 on block. So each frame you're late will decrease the block frames by 1, all the way down to -3. So use this if you're confident in your timing. This requires a 1-frame delay, but honestly is still one of my go-to favorite Oki. It's a simple frame kill that allows you to go into strike throw afterwards, you can jump after it to avoid reversals, or just go into simple block string pressure. At worst, it's -1 on block, and you've just pressed 5 MP at the same spacing as if you were doing it after a jump in. I really like this one. On block, you can throw or strike, and if they're hit, you can go into a simple combo for a couple thousand damage. On block, it also does just under half a bar of chip, which is really nice. This move in particular is one that can cause a lot of interesting behavior from people, similar to 6 HP. Some people see this move and always plan to reversal on block, leading to some interesting bait opportunities and other mind games later in the round. That said, it is very susceptible to perfect parry on wake up, the same way that if you were to do a heavy dragon kick is, so use it with caution. Alright, so this is an unusual one that I've only discovered recently thanks to watching Kakaryu Ryu games. A 2MK, for whatever reason, looks like a standard frame kill when it's used, but unlike all of Ryu's other options, it leaves him point blank, but out of throw range. This means it can be used to beat people who like to delay tech, since they'll be expecting a follow-up button, and it's also safe against reversals since you're blocking a point blank range. You might give up your turn if they wake up mashing, so keep an eye out for that, and do keep an eye out for crosscuts if they wake up trying to jump over you. That being said, this is a really unique option for Ryu and something that can be used to great effect. Ryu's throw loop is one of the better ones in the game, especially with his Dragon Punch being available if they jump out of it. You can also mix in 5 MP here when you think that they're going to tech as a way to score a big combo to finish the round. Personally, I like to throw someone 2 to 3 times before mixing in a strike, but it's really up to you and how your opponent reacts to throw loop setups. Another one of my personal favorites in the corner off a throw that you can opt to go for is a 6 HP that hits on frame 3. Frame 3 is kind of magical for buttons that are plus on block because it doesn't get perfect parried if they wake up with a parry. After 6 HP is blocked, you can't throw without a micro walk, so plan to either extend into a jab, various jab pressure, walk back from the block 6 HP, and enjoy keeping them trapped in the corner. If 6 HP counter hits, you can extend with back heavy punch into your corner B&B for a quick 3,170 meterless damage. This one here is a little bit of a preview of an upcoming section where we're going to talk specifically about Fireball Oki, but it's also core for Ryu's B&B in the corner. So look forward to us going over this one a bit more in a little bit. Now, from his B&B, where you're ending in this Juggle Light Dragon Punch, is to use either Light Hasho or back Heavy Punch as your frame kill so that you can be there +2 for a strike throw mix-up. Both of these feel a little different, and some people may be more comfortable frame killing with a special versus a normal, so decide what you would like to use here and have a blast. Similarly, if you want to go for a plus or overhead setup, you also get that from Ryu's corner B&B, which is fantastic. All you have to do is frame kill with 5 LK, and now you have the option of either going for the overhead or the plus on block 6 HP. Really quickly, I wanted to go over a couple of options for medium donkey kick because there are some instances where you're going to land this in the corner, and it's important to know that it has a couple of unique choices. The first is to frame kill with 5 LK and then go immediately into overhead. This is a great way to keep pressure up and catch an opponent unawares after a surprise medium donkey kick. Finally, you also have Light Hasho again as a great frame kill to set up 5 MP or throw in the corner. The reason that we use this and not back heavy punch is because the light hot show also moves you forward, which will put you into throw range. Finally, for those of you who are living life on the edge and would like another drive impact setup, this does work with a quick 5 LP frame kill straight into drive impact. Real quick, I want to talk about back throw. Back throw kind of sucks for Oki. At 11 frames, honestly, your best bet is to just chill out and play neutral. You've got them in the corner, just wait for them to jump or DI or do the other silly corner things that people do. The only solid, reliable Oki option here costs 2 bars, and it's OD Hadoken. Now, you can 6HK if you think they're going to jump, you can medium donkey kick if you think they're going to block, you can light Hasho if you think they're going to press. Like, there are other things that you can do, but all of those things lose to multiple other wake-up options in ways that are very bad for Ryu. So, just generally know that if you back throw, your options are very limited. The smart player will keep them boxed into the corner, and you'll just let them make a mistake instead. From back throw, you're still in good optimal range to anti-air, check a drive rush, or whiff a button, but you need to be in neutral in order to react to those things. So it's kind of up to you to decide how you want to deal with the situation where you get in a better position because you're out of the corner, but you don't exactly get Oki here, and you don't get much more than positional advantage. For this section, I largely just wanted to cover the most common routes that you should be using if you get a Hashigeki launch. Similar to the Oki from Light Tatsu, you have the option of going into the dash microwalk here for continued pressure with the strike throw mix. There is a little bit of a delay that you have to add for the strike throw, so just know that you've got about 7 frames or so of microwalking to do before this hits properly. I also wanted to take a moment to highlight this particular combo as it's Ryu's current best known combo from any crumple in addition to a Denjin Launch. It's a 39 frame knockdown that puts the opponent at full screen if they back tech, just as if you were going into donkey kick, but it does even more damage than ending with a Shoryuken. Very, very, very strong combo that I highly recommend everyone's practices, as it is a little tight, as you can see from me mashing the buttons here, but totally worth it. Alright, Ryu has a few ways to get into a safe jump, but in my opinion, there's really only one recommended way to do it, and it's from your corner B&B with OD Tatsu. Instead of going into the Hasho Heavy Dragon Punch extension, you can instead go into Heavy Donkey Kick. Typically for Ryu to get a safe jump like this, he also needs to sacrifice quite a lot of damage to do so, but routing into it from his 3-bar corner B&B only sacrifices about 50 damage instead of hundreds. It's worth noting that safe jumps, while strong, aren't as strong in Street Fighter 6 because they will lose to wake-up parry. That said, they can be particularly useful against reversal-happy opponents or in specific matchups where you just know that they're going to love to do it, like when you're, well, you see who's on screen. Anyway, remember that you can always use the safe jump setup to perform an empty jump throw if you think the opponent will wake-up parry. The general idea behind Fireball Oki is that you're getting your plus frames from throwing a fireball instead of a normal or other special. This is specifically useful because level 1 reversal supers in the game are strike invulnerable, but not invulnerable to projectiles. So in particular matchups where level 1 is the only reversal option they have, like Lily, Aki, Kimberly, etc., or it's a reversal option they like to use because they're in burnout, think Ken, Rashid, then this becomes a very strong option. It also blows up JP Amnesia, so yeah, very good. However, it does come with a few drawbacks. It will still lose to regular reversals and supers, just like all other Oki setups. This only leads to 5 MP or 2 MP extensions on hit. On block, you can only strike afterwards because the fireball is going to push you out of throw range. It's a 600 damage combo starter, so damage from it will be a bit lower unless you go into full cash out, and even then it'll be less than, say, a 5 HP starter. And it is only available in the corner. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about the best ways to get into it. The simplest, and we showed this one off earlier, is from Ryu's corner B&B, where you are ending in a Juggle Light Dragon Punch. Just frame kill with crouching jab, and now you've got your setup. Next, you have the option of sacrificing all the extra damage that you get from your 3-bar B&B by ending with light donkey kick. Probably one of the smoothest and easiest ways to get into this is with just throwing the fireball, no frame kill required, after doing a medium Tatsu. Now, you're typically not going to route into medium Tatsu in the corner because you'll be sacrificing so much damage, but if you happen to hit someone into the corner, this becomes incredibly useful in any situation, whether you're worried about the wake-up reversal or not. And finally, it's worth mentioning that you can also get this fireball setup from any target combo, as both of Ryu's target combos have the same knockdown frames. And last but not least, we're going to talk about what to do when you land one of Ryu's supers. Let's start with level 1. Now, it's worth noting that the knockdown frames for level 1 can vary. It's 26 if you hit grounded, but it can go up to 30 or as low as 24, depending on the opponent's juggle state when you combo into it. Here are two of the most consistent use cases I found where I think you're going to use level 1. First, using it when your back is to the corner. In this scenario, you don't really get real Oki. You can go for a Denjin charge here, but if you want to keep up pressure and get out of the corner, your best bet is to just do a forward dash and return to neutral. You'll be at the right spacing to deal with opponents if they jump, and you'll be farther away from the corner. Now, if you use level 1 at the corner, you have a very useful setup with just 5 LP to frame kill and then a meaty 5 HP, which is all the way up to +2 on block. It's incredibly good for 5 HP. Do note that this can whiff if you juggle into it in such a way where it looks like the level 1 is hitting Ryu's ankles. And so if he's too high up, the setup's not going to work. If this happens, just use 4 LP and it should stay consistent, as 4 LP adds an additional frame with the crouching jab compared to the standing jab. For level 2 charged, this is kind of interesting. Usually what you can do here is just get a Denjin charge. The knockdown is one of the only instances with charge level 2 where you have plenty of time to B+ after the Denjin. However, if you're going to put them into the corner with charge level 2, but you weren't close enough to get a drive rush extension, using heavy Tatsu here is fantastic because it'll put you right next to the opponent at +4. Now, in the scenario that you do level 2 in the corner, which is, let's be honest, incredibly situational, but in case this does happen, you can go straight into the 6 HP or overhead here without a frame kill. Very niche, but very useful to know in case this situation ever arises. Finally, let's talk about level 3. Oh, level 3. Your only real choice here is to do a OD fireball, and it doesn't even meaty. If they jump immediately afterwards, any fireball besides the 2-bar version can be punished by a jump in. If they try to react to your OD Hadoken, they'll get hit as they're jumping. However, it's very unlikely that you're going to have 2 free bars left over to spend after using level 3, so generally you just either want to take a risk and go for something because they're not expecting it, or you just want to recognize again that when level 3 ends, Ryu is at great spacing for neutral. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. If you made it this far, please leave a like, as it does help other Ryu players find this video and get at this resource. I really do hope that those of you who are watching this can incorporate some of this into your gameplay, that you got some new ideas for just how to keep offense going with Ryu and take advantage of all these knockdown scenarios that come up with his gameplay. So I've really been having a blast with this character since the changes. I feel like he's just a complete character now, has been an absolute blast to play. And I had a lot of fun making this video and even learned a couple of new things while putting it together. So thank you for watching. It's much appreciated, and good luck on your Street Fighter 6 improvement journey. I'll see you next time.